Hey everyone, welcome to section 3 quantitative reasoning. Here we're going to break down the theory on how to do quantitative reasoning question types. Okay, now this is a typical quantitative reasoning, and in section 3 there is pretty much only one question type. Okay, there's one way to do all of these questions. And why is that? It's because if you take a look at it, you can see that it's pretty much just the same as a year 8 worded maths problem. Okay, there's nothing much different, differentiating this question in the UCAT to something that a year 8 or year 9 student might get in a maths test. Okay, so yes, it is testing your year 8 maths worded problem skills. Now, over 90% of the questions will have some sort of graph or table or diagram attached. And then the premise itself, you may get one premise for multiple answers. So here we have, we're going to go through 2 questions for this single premise. And we have seen up to 7 questions for a single premise. But most of the questions will be 1 premise to 4 questions that we have seen so far. Now, how are you supposed to do this question? In fact, people, if they work through this, they'll find that section 3 quantitative reasoning is probably the easiest section in the UCAT. And historically speaking, from the UK data, yes, indeed, section 3 is by far done the best. Okay, now in 2017, the average for 50th percentile was 65%, which is a lot more compared to the other sections. So in section 1, we know that the average was about 45%, and in section 2, it's about 55%. So section 3 quantitative reasoning, historically speaking, it performs the best. However, like I said before, it is year 8 maths worded problems. So why aren't people getting closer to 90% or 100%? Okay, because everyone's mathematics level should be pretty good, especially if you're doing the highest level mathematics. Now, the reason for that is obviously because of the time restraints. Okay, now because of the limited amount of time, on average, you only get about 40 seconds to answer all of your questions. Okay, that's not a lot of time. However, if you're really good at mathematics, you'll find that this section is easier. If you're not so strong in mathematics, yes, and like especially people who haven't touched mathematics for, let's say, 10 years or 20 years, you'll really struggle with this question types because you have to remember how to do maths again. Okay, so we'll go through what maths is actually required and how to actually perform well in this section. Okay, now first, the background maths that you have got to know. Okay, so here's just a quick list. Now, if you were to sit, let's say year 8 maths exam right now at this point in time, would you be able to get an A? Okay, if you're able to get an A, an ace your year 8 maths exam at this point in time, then you'll find that all this background maths is pretty straightforward. Okay, so the first one is converting and simplifying decimals, percentages, fractions, and ratios. Okay, and another thing you need to take note of is there's lots of rates questions. Okay, so like tax rate, currency conversion rates, speed, time, and distance. Okay, so you need to be able to calculate rates. There's some area and volume as well, but it's nothing too difficult. I just think back to year 8, what types of shapes were available. Okay, there was indeed, you are expected to know the area, volume, perimeter of a rectangle, and triangles. And if you do get harder shapes like rhombuses, parallelograms, or trapeziums, the formula should be given to you. Okay, so we have seen those harder shapes, but the formula is always given for those harder shapes. But rectangles and triangles, you should know off by heart how to find the area for those. Okay, volume, they usually always give the formula, unless if it's a cube or a rectangular prism, in which you should know how to find the volume for that. Okay, statistics, that will be tested. And in fact, probability is also tested as well, but that is actually covered in section 2. Okay, so I might cover probability in a future video. But in section 3, they'll ask you to find the mean, mode, and median if there's any probability involved. Okay, and then the fifth point is, just simply reading tables, graphs, charts, and timetables. So are you able to read a table? Okay, to find all the information. Now the question that we are going to go through in the next video will be a tables question, which is really common. And another really common one is graphs. Okay, so you are expected to read a graph which has an x and y axis and just see what's going on and grab the proper numbers. Okay, charts, such as pie charts or any other chart that they give you, may be given as well, but it's less common. And of course, timetables, are you able to read the time? Yes, I'm serious. All you need to do is just read a timetable properly and find the difference in time, maybe convert some hours to minutes, minutes to hours, and just be able to read timetables. So the maths itself is not too difficult, especially if you're doing like top level maths, in high school at the moment or in university. Okay, so you have to realize that don't think that this question type is really easy, just because the questions can be done. Okay, it was, like I said before, year 8 maths level, all these questions definitely can be done and they seem straightforward, so people often neglect it. What do they neglect? They neglect the time aspect. How do you actually do these questions quickly? Okay, and that's the main thing. Now, you'll figure out that you do need a calculator, okay, to do certain calculations. And there is an on-screen calculator provided for any difficult multiplication and divisions. Okay, obviously you can add and subtract using the calculator as well, but if you're really good at it mentally, then you can do this section a little bit quicker. If you want more information about the on-screen calculator to see what it looks like, just head to the UCAT official website, and then they'll go to the practice test and they will show you what you will be given in the actual UCAT. Okay, and the calculator is a basic calculator. Okay, it's not a scientific calculator, it's not your class pad. Okay, it only does basic addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. Okay, so don't expect anything fancy. It's just something that does these operations very simply. There's no brackets. Okay, and whatever you type into the calculator, you can't actually scroll back to see what you typed in. Okay, so it is a very, very basic calculator. Okay, so it's not something you want to rely on all the time, because you have to be clicking on the screen. You can use your numpad if you're using a Windows keyboard. The numeric pad is definitely a lot quicker than clicking on the screen. Okay, however, you have to just double check you're working out or what you punch into the calculator by literally just typing it into the calculator again. So that's why if you have strong mental mathematics, it's you can save a little bit of time. Okay, so going back to this question here, if I was to give you an unlimited amount of time, definitely most people will get the first question correct. But why is the average still only 65%? Okay, it's because of the, we don't have unlimited time. Okay, and we are restricted to 40 seconds per question. Okay, so we're going to concentrate on how to do these questions as quickly and accurately as possible. I believe accuracy is not too much of a hindrance to most people in doing these questions. Okay, it's more about the speed. Okay, so stay tuned to our next video, in which we will break down how to do quantitative reasonings quickly. Okay, so I'll see you all next time.